Welcome to Meet the Author, where you can join in on insightful conversations with best-selling and award-winning indie published authors. Your hosts today are Rob and Joan, who themselves are indie published authors, book publicists, and paranormal investigators with Tampa Bay Spirits, based in Tampa Bay, Florida. Thanks for dropping by. And now, on with the show.
Hi, I'm Rob.
And I'm Joan. Welcome to the show. We're so glad that you're here. I see we've got some comments already. George Desmukes. Okay, I'm here.
We can start. Thank you, George.
Thanks,
Thank you.
George.
That is so kind of you.
Paula says, hey, Rob and Joan.
Hey,
Happy
Paul.
June. Happy June right back to you. Joe Conjol says, hi, Rob and Joan.
Hey, Joe.
You know who's on? You know who's on tonight, right, Joe? You were on his show. It's Beem this time. Well, I don't know what I was going to say. You guys started commenting and I was going to, welcome to the show.
That was very concise.
Yeah. Welcome to the show. And whether or not you're watching us live or you're listening to the podcast, we're so glad you decided to join the show. We love your comments. Please like, follow, share, and comment. Caleb says, glad to be traveling that strange highway with everyone.
Hi, Caleb.
Yes, Caleb, and it's getting stranger by the day, I'll tell you.
That's for sure.
Oh,
Hi, Annette.
greetings from Michigan.
Michigan. Fellow
Annette,
Michigander.
Rochelle, Abin, I bet that you know Beem. That's my guess. Yes. Okay. Yeah, I'm done.
Did you know this is episode 60?
No.
Can you believe that? Episode 60. That's just crazy talk.
No.
And this is June. And you know what happens in June? The next installment of Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles comes out.
Oh, yeah, that's
It'll
right.
just be in a couple of weeks, I believe. I couldn't, it wasn't out on Cindy's page yet, but Cindy Davis, The Great Peanut Butter Conspiracy is book 3 of the Magnolia Bluff Crime Chronicles is going to be out. So far, there's C.W. Hawes has Death Wears a Crimson Hat, which right here. Good book. Get it? Get caught up. Stay up with this. We got 9 books coming out here. Caleb released Eulogy in Black and White as book number 2. It's out and available right now at your favorite bookstore.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have Cindy coming out here in a couple of weeks, or this month, I should say. I shouldn't say a couple of weeks because I don't know. But The Great Peanut Butter Conspiracy, book number 3. So that's all going to be good. Our guest tonight is...
Paul says, congrats on 60 entertaining shows. Thank you.
Thanks
for helping to make it entertaining.
Our guest tonight is...
Joe's excited because he won all 3 on your show. Oh, you did?
That's right. That's cool.
Oh, that's great.
That is awesome.
Yeah, because it's going to be really a good series.
It
And
is.
we're all waiting for George's movie.
Yep.
And
George's movie
his
is going to
third
be...
book, which will now be named The Siren Hunter instead of Siren.
That's rolling right
Song
along,
3. Yeah.
according to George and his wonderful cast.
Yeah,
Well,
a lot of good things happening.
we do have Beem Weeks with us tonight.
Yes.
As
Let's
you all
bring 'em on.
should know, that Beem Weeks and Stephen G's hopes... I can't talk either. Host the Voice of Indie podcast. We'll let Beem talk about that when he comes on, because obviously I can't. So we're going to be ending the show just a little early tonight, just a few minutes early, so he can hop over to his show, which he's going to be on at 8 o'clock.
Well, he'll be leaving early.
He'll be leaving early. We'll still be here
talking to you.
making jokes and doing all sorts of fun stuff.
Oh, one more thing I did want to say. Thank you, everyone that that donated books to Chanel.
Right.
She went back in for more treatment today.
I believe today.
Yeah, today I think she said, but I know she's very appreciative. If she didn't get back to each and every one of you, I know how much that meant to her. So,
right.
Thank you. I always have said that the authors from small publishing houses and the indie authors are some of the most wonderful people, the most helpful, the kindest people that I've ever met.
No doubt about that.
Yeah. So thank you.
Thank you for your generosity, everybody,
Yes.
and for helping out on the cause. And if anybody else wants any information on that, carternovels@aol.com, shoot us an email and we can steer you in the right direction. Okay, so without much ado, Beem, why don't you hop on in? We're going to beam you up. There we go. All right. Now, you did leave the windows open on your Volkswagen bus that has the giraffe and the dog sticking out of the windows earlier, right?
Goodness.
Yeah.
Okay, good, because we wouldn't want anything to happen to them.
Yeah.
I'm going to show you that, guys, so that we know what Rob is talking about.
There we go.
Yeah.
Right there. Yeah.
Strange Hwy.
Strange Hwy. Yeah. That's a book cover that was designed and created by Mr. Stephen Jeeves.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. No, the green sign up at the top, Strange Hwy, that's actually I took a photo of a sign that used to be right up the road from here. There's a Strange Hwy near where I live. And
really?
That's how I came up with the idea. I had this collection of short stories, and what am I going to call it? And I, driving by there, I thought that's actually kind of a cool name, Strange Hwy.
It is.
I have one quick question for Rob.
Uh-oh.
You're from Michigan, right?
I'm from Illinois, but we lived in Michigan.
Okay, I was going to say, what's up with that Chicago Cubs hat?
Cubbies. I'm from Chicago.
Well, I'm a lifelong Tiger fan, but in my closet, my National League team, I've got a jersey of the Chicago Cubs.
Oh, well, that makes
up it's my National League team.
The poor Cubbies, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they deserve some love.
They do.
Well, they finally, ended their drought.
They're losing.
Well, hi, Joe.
That's right.
Joe Conchel says, hi, Beem. There we go. Go ahead. Finish your thought there. They finally won
one. And so that's good.
That was good.
My National League team changes with the decades. In the 70s, it was the Cincinnati Reds. And in the 80s, it was the Philadelphia Phillies. And then it got to where it was the Cubs, and it was always the Cubs just because they needed some support.
Well, they haven't been able to afford to have lights in the park, for a long time. So
yeah, they had to have a goat to mow their field.
Yeah, they needed help,
Joe Conchel says Yankees.
Yankees, baby. Yeah, boo.
How did that get up there?
Oh, and G. Greenwell says, good to see Beem Weeks on. I can finally put a face to the name. That's one of the reasons why we wanted to do this podcast, was so that people can come on and talk to their favorite authors and put a face to the name and, ask questions that you've been wanting to know. Why did you do that? How come you killed off that person?
Why'd you shoot the dog?
Why did you end the series? Nobody shoots dogs in books.
Not my stories.
No.
Good.
There might be dogs that shoot people.
And see, I'm a Red Sox fan because I'm from Boston.
Boston. Yeah, well.
Yeah.
Well,
but they were like the Cubs for years, for decades, and couldn't win it, and then all of a sudden they couldn't lose it. It seemed like they were winning left and right. So good on them.
And then Tom Brady moved to Tampa, and so now we're Champa Bay.
You're right there with Champa Bay.
Mm-hmm. Yep, we are. So I wanted to know, when did you start writing? Did you start writing when you were really young, or
have you
always wanted to be a writer? And
my first taste of that was third grade. It was a classroom assignment. It was write a short story, and I wrote a short story that was probably a page and a half long. And the teacher reads these stories out loud, and you're 8 years old, and you're getting a lot of, hey, that's really good from your classmates. And the teacher even said it was really good. And that kind of spiked my interest in that. Then when I was in fifth grade, I had a friend who liked to write as well, and we co-wrote a play. It was called The Time Machine. Yeah, there's already a book. But and our teacher, we had the coolest teacher in fifth grade. This guy was hands-on, and he got us to put together a cast, and we performed it for the school. So I'm 10 years old, and I'm directing and starring in a play that I co-wrote, and it was Then when I was in high school, I wrote for the high school newspaper. I did mostly concert and record reviews. Always been big in music, and but I also did interviews with some of the football players and basketball players and whatnot. But I always loved writing.
Me too. It's funny that you told that story because when I was in first grade, I wrote a play that was put on for the whole school, not just the first grade. And I wrote it all by myself. I directed it and I starred in it. It was, that's the way to do it, man. If you write it, you can do all those things. But it was really funny because in the town newspaper, my name was Joan. It was same as it is now, right? But they said Joan wrote it, Jean directed it, and Jane starred in it. Because they couldn't believe the same person did all three things. My mother kept that newspaper clipping forever, but that's hilarious.
Fantastic.
But you did the same thing. You were a little bit older, but did the same thing.
Yeah, it was just a lot of fun getting up there in front of the whole school and doing this thing and knowing that it was our work. But this teacher, he did that for a lot of the students. Some of the girls were dancers, and they put together this dance thing, and they got to perform it for the whole school. And he dragged some of us boys into it that we had to kind of be in the background doing things. And we were like, we're not dancers. We don't want to do that. But we did. We had fun with it. And now that I'm an adult, the memories, it was fun. He was a wonderful teacher. Like I said, hands-on. So yeah. And he was really responsible for my love of reading as well. This teacher, Dr. Anderson at Winans Elementary School, because he used to have a library of books in his classroom, and he would put these point totals on them, depending on, if this was a thicker book, you got more points, the smaller book, fewer points. And then at the end of each semester, whoever had the most points, he would buy them McDonald's and bring it to school, and they could have that for lunch. So that kid sitting over there with the McDonald's, and it was always girls that won it. I came close. I finished second a couple of times, but it was always girls that won that because they were just devouring books.
Well, he was really an encourager, wasn't he?
Yes, he was.
That's great to have teachers like that, right?
Yeah. Still remains my all-time favorite teacher, I think.
Yeah. Wow. That's really nice. Look at how much good a teacher can do to direct person in the way they should go.
Yeah.
That's really amazing. So you started writing at an early age, and did that continue through most of your life, or?
No, it didn't. Once I got out of high school, I was a partier. I got into partying, raising Cain, and it just, next thing I know, it's 20 years gone, 20 years past. And I got into a situation where, you know what, I want to try this writing thing again. And Stephen G's was actually teaching wasn't really a creative writing class, but it was kind of like a creative writing class. And I got involved with that, and it just re-sparked the energy to want to write again. And he was really encouraging. And I started writing short stories again. And then from there, I wrote Jazz Baby, and I haven't looked back.
Well, that's awesome. And now you do a show together.
Yeah.
That's
Chanel
cool.
says,
Cool.
I loved reading since second grade. My teacher helped me get over my reading disability. That's awesome. See?
That is cool.
If you can read, really, I think you can do anything. You can learn anything. Now I love to do research. I mean, it's probably one of my favorite things to do.
Oh, I love research.
I do too. And, you need to be able to read to do research.
That is a prerequisite.
Yes.
There's you can listen to audiobooks, I suppose. But
yeah. Well,
not quite as extensive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Audiobooks are fun, but
Yeah.
I still like them.
Yeah, I produce audiobooks. They're a blast to produce. I don't.
Yeah,
read
you've got quite a bit going on that we need to talk about too.
Yeah.
I mean, how did you and Stephen get together?
It was basically meeting him in that class, and he's the guy that runs Fresh Ink Group, and there was a lot of opportunity for me to get out there first as an author, and then while working with him on my own books, well, here's a book, somebody else's book that needs some editing, so he'd throw me some editing jobs here and there, and those turned out well, and then from there I became basically a full-time editor, and then we moved into the audiobooks. And we don't read them ourselves. I mean, we hire voice actors, but we put like sound effects in there, and there's music for scene breaks and just different little add-on things. And I mean, it just, the working relationship proved, he's down in Alabama and I'm in Michigan, but we conference every night, through Zoom or Skype, and it works.
How long have you been working with him?
Oh, about 10 years now.
10 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
I've known him for about 20, and I've been working with him for about 10. So yeah,
that is way cool.
Caleb says the toughest thing about research is knowing when it's time to quit researching and start writing.
That is true.
I agree.
That's very true. I've been researching the Phoenicians for probably 7 years, and maybe I have enough. Chanel says that she misses card catalogs at the libraries. Yeah, I know. The library used to be a really fun
used to make
place
sense.
go. You know?
Yeah. I spent a lot of time in the library.
She said dumb computers are not as much fun. Right? Research is a necessary evil. Oh, but see, I think it's
not an evil.
Not
evil.
I think it's
I'll tell you.
You're learning things.
Yeah, I mean, when I was researching, Jazz Baby is set in I know we're not talking about that yet, but it's set in the 1920s. I needed to learn about the 1920s. I wasn't born then. So all this research that I did, man, there was just so much stuff there. There's a scene where, they're driving around in this car. It's 1925, and they're listening to the radio, and she's singing at the top of her lungs because that's what she does. And then during my research, I found that there were no car radios until 1927, and they didn't become standard until 1931.
Oh.
So I had to rewrite that whole scene, which really turned out to be beneficial because a conversation takes place there that needed to take place for something that happens later on. And
so that was your first book, right?
That's the first book, yeah.
Okay.
And that
so
actually started.
The cover up, Jazz Babies by Beem Weeks. You want to tell us a little synopsis of it without any spoilers?
Sure. It's Emily Ann Baby Teagarden. She's a young teenage girl. Early in the story, her father dies. And then we find out that her mother poisoned him, and then she kills herself in prison. So she's an orphan, and she's sent to live with her mother's sister, who is her aunt. And she's never been married. She's got money because the family had money, and she got all the money. Because she didn't end up pregnant out of wedlock the way Emily's mother did. And this aunt doesn't really want to raise the kid. She loves her, but she's a wild child, and she's got her set life. She's got her daily Bible studies at the church. So as the story unfolds, there's a family friend that was her father's friend. He gets her a shot at auditioning at a speakeasy to sing. And she's got this beautiful voice, this incredible voice that's powerful. And she goes on a journey it's dark at times. It's dark quite a bit because you're out there, you're a kid, and you're running through New Orleans. And she's from Mississippi, but they're right across the river from New Orleans, and gets into stuff that she shouldn't. There's some opium dens and things like that are out there. And there's supposed to be a sequel because it kind of left everything hanging at the end of this one with the idea that there would be a sequel. But
Stephen G, speaking of that, Stephen G says, I'm curious, you think Teagarden's story will continue in another novel someday?
I was just touching on that. Yeah, I think so. I'm working on 2 novels right now, and I think when I'm done with those 2, and those hopefully will be done sometime this year, I'm going to start on in fact, I've already started some early outlining of the sequel to Jazz Baby, because good things happen for her in the sequel.
Good.
So,
Okay, what was your next book that you?
The next book was my first collection of short stories. There's 20 short stories in there, and it's called Slivers of Life, a collection of short stories. And that's short stories that I wrote over the course of. There you go.
Go ahead.
Got it right here.
All right. And I wrote those over the course of, 10, 12 years, the short stories. And I had enough of them. I thought, let's put together a short story collection. And that's multiple genres. It's mostly slice of life, coming of age, but there's some
partway
stuff
through it, and it's really good.
Yeah,
I really like your writing style.
Yeah, we commented on that. actually have read some of them together. Joe Conjo says, cool cover on Slivers of Life. Yes.
Yeah, I found that picture and it was just like, hey, that's my cover. It was a picture on Storyblocks, I believe. And so we licensed it and boom, there it is.
Yeah, and then your next book, let's bring that one up, was the first cover that was showed, Strange Hwy.
Strange Hwy, yeah. That's another collection of short stories. That one's got 19 of them in there. And those were actually written over a shorter period of time. I think that was like 3 or 4 years. I just got on this writing kick for the short stories while working on, some of these other novels that I've been working on. The one I've been working on for many, many years. And it's just, I write it and I put it away and, I get burned out on it. And so I would throw together these short stories and collection number 2. I've got a few. I'm looking at maybe a third short story collection someday, but first things first, I gotta get those novels finished.
Takes time, doesn't it?
So what kind of short stories are in Strange Hwy?
There's a lot of them that are similar to the ones that are same kind of genre as Slivers of Life. It's coming of age and slice of life, but there's also some semi-horror. I've never really delved into the horror stories, but it's kind of the monster, but who really is the monster type of thing. There's something that might even be considered kind of science fiction, and I've never been a huge science fiction fan, but I wrote this story and I think it could probably, and then there's one that's kind of there's one, I can't remember if this is in Slivers of Life or if it's in Strange Hwy, but it's one that's kind of based around reincarnation. Is this little kid this guy's brother reincarnated? And I left that open. It's one of those, I tried to do that, leave a lot of those things open for the reader to decide, this kid's reincarnated or no, he's not.
Yeah.
The tiger or the lady, which door did he open? It's left to the reader to figure out.
Caleb says, I love great short stories. To me, a good novel is merely a series of short stories woven together to form a single story.
Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. That's how that's kind of how I approach writing novels too. Each chapter has to be, to me, a chapter should be standalone. If I can read one chapter and it entertains me and wants me to move on to the next one.
Right.
It's kind of like a short story.
Okay, well, it's time to take a short commercial break. So if you can stand by, we will carry on and talk some more as soon as we get
first,
back.
a word from our sponsors.
But first, a word from our wonderful sponsor.
Our sponsor, yes.
Dear Lord, she's still alive.
Who's still alive?
Maris, that's who.
Come on, Angie, that's impossible.
Impossible or not, she's still alive, I tell you. She killed that boatload of people, and she's just getting started. There's no limit to what she will do.
It's not easy to kill a siren. It takes a formula and a plan. Siren Song 2 is the spellbinding sequel to Siren Song. Both novels by George Dismukes.
Siren Song 2 will be on bookshelves and bookseller websites in July. Don't miss it.
Many secrets are hidden within the darkness of the jungle. Behold, this one about a man, a woman, a black jaguar, and an ancient Maya legend. Two Faces of the Jaguar is a novel by George Dismukes that will take you deep into the jungle and capture your imagination until the last word. Two Faces of the Jaguar is book 1 of a trilogy. Two Faces of the Jaguar, where only the adventurous dare to read.
Two Faces of the Jaguar, The Lost City, and The Jaguar's Quest are available on Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble, and many other bookseller websites. Two Faces of the Jaguar, the book people are talking about. Get your copy today.
And we're back.
Those sound like intriguing books.
Yeah,
Yes,
they are.
Yes, and they're really good books. Yeah, and I've read the first Siren Song, and now I want to read the second one. And I'm excited because, well, I can't tell you why I'm excited, but
Just because.
I can't tell you because it would be a spoiler. So I can't say, but I am excited to see how something turns out, how it happens. So Joe Conjal said, Beem, do you have a genre you enjoy more than others when you write your short stories? And any you haven't tried yet that you want to try?
Oh, that's a good question. My favorite genre is probably historical fiction, but with the short stories, it's that slice of life. It's everyday happenings of people. Things happen in a life that 1 second, and it changes not just that person's life, but all the other people around them. It changes their life. I like writing stuff like that. Like with Jazz Baby's historical fiction, both novels I'm working on now are, one's historical fiction set in 1910, but the other one's set, closer to modern time, 1977. And that kind of revolves around the summer that Elvis passed away. And
so as long as you're talking about that, let me bring up the first one that you spoke of, The Secret Collector.
Yeah, that's hopefully that'll be out here within a couple months. That's the one set in 1910, obviously. And it follows this teenage girl who gathers secrets. She knows what's going on and she's good at keeping them, but then something happens and she's determined to get it set straight. And even if it means somebody in her family has to pay, but it's that era. So the norms of that era, the way people treated each other, especially different ethnic groups, the way they're treated, that plays heavily into it. And she becomes disenchanted. And during the course of this, she gets hooked up with the suffragettes, and she ends up getting into the suffragette movement. At first, she didn't want anything to do with it. Why do women need to vote? Who cares? That doesn't mean anything. But then her mother was explaining to her, men have had the chance to make things right in certain areas, and they can't do it. So, we all need the right to vote.
We do.
Yeah, but that's like I said, hopefully that'll be done here within a couple of months, a month and a half. It should be finished written in a month. Then I tend to edit as I go along, and then Stephen G's, he's my second eyes, and he goes through it, and then we do all the formatting and book covers and all that good stuff.
all the good stuff.
All the fun stuff. So you were speaking of this.
That one right there, that's a mock-up. That's the cover. It says "Home Before the Streetlights Come On," but it's being changed. It's "Before the Streetlights Come On," and that font's going to be changed up at the top there. That's the one set in 1977, and that's a girl who's supposed to go into 5th grade, but they're going to jump her to 7th grade because she's really intelligent, and she lives with her grandmother, and they live in West Memphis, Arkansas, and right across the river is Memphis, Tennessee, where Elvis lives. And Grandma cleans houses, and summer vacation has just started, and she's going with Grandma to clean houses, and she ends up getting an opportunity to do some clothing modeling for like Kmart and some of those newspaper ads that they had back in the day. And that helps save up money for her college that she's going to need. And she meets a lot of people over there, wealthy people and whatnot. And one day she gets to see Elvis. He's on his motorcycle. And but all of that comes crashing down when something becomes unearthed. And nobody will ever be the same in that story.
No, that sounds good.
This one is, I think, going to probably be, so far, it's my favorite story, even at this point where it's only, 2/3 done. It's one of my favorite stories that I've written.
Well, good.
That is good.
That is
good.
good.
It was an idea, and it was just like, wow, I got to write that. I've got to write that.
That's great. That really is great. Let me put up some of your information here for people so they'll know how to get in touch with you. So you can reach him on his website, beemweeks.com, and that's BEEMWEEKS.com. Or you can also reach him through the freshinkgroup.com, FRESHINK group. I think y'all know how to spell group. Or his blog, beemweeks.wordpress.com. Twitter, @BeemWeeks. You made this so easy until we get to your email.
Well,
his email. Yes, go ahead.
The easier email is beem@freshinkgroup.com. That's, but this one here, this is the one I check every day.
So this is the one that you should use to get in touch with him.
Yeah.
nostar67@gmail.com. And that's NOSTAR 67. So why don't we
do the book giveaway? Get your fingers going here, guys. Okay, the first 6 people to email nostar67@gmail.com will win a signed paperback book. Beem, tell us what books that you're going to be sending.
Only in the United States.
United States.
In the United States.
Yeah, it gets costly going overseas. It's going to be Jazz Baby, Slivers of Life, and Strange Hwy. I'm thinking doing 2 of each, so that would be 6. But I mean, if it goes over where 3 or 4 people want one of a certain one, I don't have a problem with that. And if 7 or 8 people email me, that's all right too. I'll make sure they get them. Now, the thing about Kevin is it's an ebook, so I'm not giving that away, obviously, with a signed thing. But if somebody really wants it, I can set up a giveaway for that.
Oh, I don't think we even talked about that one.
Let
me go back to that. Yeah,
that's my most recent one.
Yeah.
But that's a shorter read. That's why it's just an ebook. Yeah. It's just over 7,000 words.
The thing about Kevin.
Yeah.
And it's an ebook only. Yeah,
this is actually kind of a crime mystery type of book. This is actually set in Chicago, the suburbs.
Hey, all right. I'm not in it that way.
Yeah, I don't know. Were you ever a gangster back in the 70s?
I don't know. I might have been.
Yeah, this one is the father, the patriarch of this family dies, and he had 2 sons and a daughter, and one son just kind of walked out the front door one day back in like 1983 and just never came home. He had a falling out with his father, and so whatever happened to him, where did he go? The other son, he got married and went off to college, then got married and moved to New York City, and he was on Madison Avenue, ad exec, and his wife's father ran the company, so he had a nice cushy job. Well, he and the wife were, getting ready to get a divorce because things aren't working for him. And he comes back home to Chicago to bury his father, and as he starts, getting ready for the funeral, secrets from the past start popping up. His brother and his girlfriend had a baby out of wedlock when they were teenagers, and he didn't know this. He just knew that the girlfriend had gone out to her aunt's house in California one summer, and when she came back, they weren't together anymore, and the baby was put up for adoption. And there's all kinds of little things that he finds out, and he starts to dig to find out, where's his brother at? Is he going to show up at the funeral? Is he going to snub the family, or what happened to him? Where's he at? What's going on with him? And that one was a fun one to write as well. It was actually a quick write.
There's an important question here. Is the email Addie cap sensitive?
No.
Shouldn't be.
I don't think it is. I don't think any of them
Not on
are
emails.
Not on
Hi,
emails.
Annette. And before that, you said she's from Michigan, and she probably knows me. I don't know. I've never met her, but we do know each other online. I've I've left comments on her blog, I think, and she's been on mine. So,
So
Hi,
she's an
Annette.
online friend
There you go.
from Michigan. You have
Yeah,
that in
she's
common.
she's
Michiganders.
a fellow Michigander.
Yep.
Yeah.
And Joe Condrel says, I thought maybe the plot was about killing the Cubs World Series chances.
There you go.
Well, that's how it started. No.
The thing about Kevin is he hated the Cubs.
He hated the Cubs. But the Cubs play a role in there because the dad used to take the sons to the Cubs games every weekend. Every Saturday it was Dad and Son Day. Then,
going out to Wrigley Field.
Going out to Wrigley, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and that took some. I've only been to Chicago like a time or two, and so I had to do a little research on that. Some of the bars in the area, make sure that they were around. Back in the day, although the story is current, it takes place now. Like last year or whenever it was that it came out, he went to go to the funeral, but it cuts back in time to the late 70s and the early 80s at times.
Fox Point Publishing. Kirsten says, hi from Minnesota.
Hi, Kirsten.
Hi, Kirsten.
Oh, hello there from Minnesota, eh?
Minnesota, hey.
And Annette says, hi, Beem.
Hi, Annette.
Yeah. Well, the thing is about
Kevin?
living in, the thing about Kevin is living in Chicago, there are a lot of gangsters living there. There were when we were living there and active, and a lot of the houses that were built during the high time, like back in the 30s and stuff like that, in the 40s, have all these secret rooms and passageways, and people would buy the houses in
underground caverns.
They'd buy these houses
Tunnels.
and find this stuff with tunnels under their houses,
Yeah, there used to be this really cool show. Incidentally, the gangster connection is Kevin, the main character. His father
is a gangster.
Or Kevin isn't Kevin's the brother that's missing. But the father was the gangster. And think Goodfellas. If you've ever seen the movie Goodfellas, how those guys were part of crews. This guy had his own crew, and he just did things outside of the law. He had connections too, but he also had people that wanted to take a shot at him. But what you're talking about with the little hidden rooms and all that, there used to be this show on History Channel or one of those cable channels, was called If Walls Could Talk. And that's what it was about, where they would go to these people's houses, and we bought the house, and as we were remodeling it, we found a speakeasy in the basement. And it just things hidden behind this wall. There was one, it was a judge that at the late 1800s, 1880s, 1890s, and he was a powerful man, well respected in the community, and one of his children was born with mentally handicapped. And so they would keep the child in the attic, and they had metal platings on the walls, and it was just no life. And that was this horror that these people came to realize when they discovered what this room was for, because it had been covered up by another wall. Yeah. And then they found the birth of the child, and then they found the obituary for the child. The child ended up dying at like 12 or 13. But I mean, it was sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot of those places are haunted that have those rooms. They did that.
Yeah.
They really did that. People back then. A lot of people back then.
Yeah. And that leaves an energy there. Don't you know, eh?
Christian said, don't you know?
Beem, before we run out of time here, could you talk to us a little bit about what Fresh Ink Group has to offer? You've got an awful lot of stuff on your website there.
Fresh Ink Group is an all-purpose publisher. We publish books. We edit books. If you don't need us for publishing, we do editing. We do book trailers, and we do some pretty interesting stuff with book trailers. We do a lot of After Effects and things, live footage, cool voiceovers, some sound effects, music, things like that. We do audio books. Again, same thing with professional readers. We have connections to Like one of the guys that's reading a book right now, he just finished a movie with Christopher Lloyd from the old TV series Taxi and from Back to the Future, Doc Brown.
Oh yeah.
Oh, hey, Marty. That guy. This guy just did a movie with him, and we got him to read one of our author's books. And he's a kid. He's like 18 or 19, and this guy just he reads it like an actor, and it's professional and it's really cool sounding. So we do that. Book covers. If you just need a book cover, we do book covers. And it's, Fresh Ink Group, if you do publishing, the author owns 100% of their work. There's a royalty rate of 75% because we put stuff into it too, that a lot of it's out of pocket to get these things done.
Sure.
And we have our own printer. We run through our own printer and Ingram Spark printing, and it's worldwide. They've got plants over in Europe and all that. So you publish with us. You're in all these stores. I see ads from Stockholm, Sweden, with my books with all of this foreign stuff, and it's like, wow, that's cool. And it's like 10 kroner. Wait a minute, is that good? 10 kroner. What's that worth? Okay, are they underselling this?
And what is a kroner anyway? Right?
Just, other people's denominations, but I mean, it's everywhere. And we just got into China too. So that's opening up another market there. And it's just interesting in the 10 years that I've been here, watching how this company has grown. Stephen G's has a vision, and, originally he started it just to publish his own stuff. And it wasn't even to publish it. It was to try to get an agent and things like that. And then he thought, all right, he'll publish his own stuff. And then, he started inviting others, and I was one of the ones that he invited to publish. And like you said, there's a lot of stuff. We also build websites. If an author needs a website, we build. These are personal websites. They're and you can have whatever you need in there added to it. We're building a couple right now.
And here's tonight's show right here.
Yes, and we do podcasts.
We're in POV Part 2 with Stephen G's. For those of you who don't know, POV means point of view.
That's immediately following.
That means. Pizza. I thought it was like pizza, onions, and something.
Vegetables.
Pizza, onions, and vegetables.
Stephen G says, yikes, never associated with Ingram Spark, but we do use Ingram's POD factories for printing.
Yeah, okay.
Print on demand.
Yeah, print on demand. You're not payable on death, but print on demand. Stephen G also says Spark is for self-publishing.
Well, he's better at knowing that stuff because I don't handle any of that. I edit books. I put together book trailers and audiobooks. So, he should have given me talking points.
Well,
we should have given you talking points.
Yes, you didn't know we were going to spring that on you, so you had no idea.
So what is your show going to be about tonight? You're going to be leaving shortly to go.
Tonight, it's back in, I think, February, we did a episode where Stephen's teaching on point of view. That's very important for authors to know point of view. I'm currently editing a book where he's not quite got the grasp of point of view yet. And so there's a lot of head hopping. So I got to go in there and clean a lot of this stuff up where I can, then rewrite stuff where I can't. But this guy's an excellent writer, though. He's a compelling story. But anyway, back in February, we did an episode where we're going to do the full show. It was all about point of view, but we only got halfway through it because we got some calls and whatnot, and people had questions, and we put it into the archive, and we thought, well, one of these days we'll do a part 2. And I'm sitting here watching in our archives, and this episode is blown up. It's one of our biggest, most popular episodes that we've ever done. And so being on this, I didn't want to have a guest tonight who would be sitting in the studio right about now, wondering, well, where is everybody at? So I would have a little extra time where, when Stephen's in the studio, he can wait for a minute and I'll jump in there. But so we thought tonight, let's do part 2 of point of view. And Stephen knows what he's talking about. He's written several how-to books. They're over there on Amazon. G's Writer How-To. And he's going to put on a masterclass tonight.
George says POV is also a movie term referring to a camera angle. That would be a point of view in a movie.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Yep. That's very good, George.
There you go.
George should know. He's been doing that for a long time.
So what's the easiest way for people to find Voice of Indie podcast after this show, after we're done.
The easiest way, we're over on Twitter all over the place, but at Voice of Indie on Twitter, the pinned tweet every week is this week's show. So after tonight's show, I will pin the tweet with the link in it for next week's show.
Okay.
We also have a newsletter. Go to freshinkgroup.com and scroll to the bottom of the page and sign up for our newsletter. And every Wednesday morning, you will receive the link for the show, who the guest is, some information about the guest, book trailers by the guest, books by the guest. You can click on the links and find them on Amazon. And then there's also other little news and updates of what's going on with Fresh Ink Group authors. And our guests they're not all Fresh Ink Group authors. In fact, the most of them, they're not. They're just all kinds of people. And that's what we want. Yeah. Exactly. We had Joan on the show. We've had musicians. We had he's one of our authors, but Mark Herndon played drums for the country band Alabama for 28 years.
Wow.
And he wrote a memoir and he published with us. And I got to do some of the editing on that. And he's a great guy. And he got on the show with us. And we had a good time with that. We also had
says it's a great newsletter.
All right.
And Annette says, this has been cool. Thank you, Rob, Joan, and Beem. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
It is. It's cool every week, Annette. You should tune in again next week and meet another cool
This
author.
is a great podcast right here. This is a video podcast, which is really cool. I like that.
And it goes to
then it
YouTube.
becomes a podcast.
So it becomes a podcast after tonight too. So you can listen. Anybody that wants to listen can listen on all sorts of outlets. But
we're
also you can catch up on all the old shows on YouTube if you just go over to the Indie Book Source YouTube channel.
Yeah, it's got the whole archive, all 60.
60. This will be there. It's there right now, actually. Yeah. But I did notice we had a lot of
watching us on YouTube.
A lot of YouTube people contributing tonight.
Yeah. Make
sure you subscribe because we need subscribers.
Yeah.
Subscribers are important.
We go one day at a time.
Fresh Ink Group, all of the Voice of Indie podcasts, when we're done with those, we put them into video format with just a placard, obviously, because there's no image.
Yeah, there's no
We
video.
put those on YouTube as well. Mm-hmm. And we got all our book trailers over there. So Fresh Ink Group on YouTube. Go check it out, everybody. And like and subscribe.
Exactly.
There
like and subscribe.
There you go.
We can't say it enough.
Yeah, that's important.
It is important.
Well, one last.
Oh, wait a minute. One more thing I want to say too.
There's one more thing.
Just one more thing. No, this is serious. If you read a book, would you please leave a review? That is really important.
Yes.
This is Meet the Author podcast. We've been talking about Beem's books, and if you read his book, please leave a review and tell people what you think about the book.
That's right.
It's really bread and butter for authors.
If you don't know where to leave the review, just email the review to the author.
And then he can use it.
And then he can put it wherever he wants to put it,
Yeah.
Usually
you can always
there's a place
leave it on
to put
Amazon.
It, generally speaking, yes, most people can.
Yeah.
Barnes and Noble. All my books are on Barnes and Noble.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Google Books, Apple Books. We're on all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Do you have any last comments or questions? Any last requests?
That's dire.
Last
Do
request.
you have any last
Can I
words?
have a steak dinner before? Yeah.
Sure.
Just come over and check out tonight's Voice of Indie podcast. It's going to be starting here in about 10 minutes. If you need the link to get over there, go to @Voice of Indie on Twitter, and the pinned tweet. The link's right there in that tweet. And when this show is over, I'll pin next week's tweet there. So,
and there's a phone number too that if they want to make comments or be on the show and ask questions of anybody or the guest that's on there, or you,
like when we were on, Joe Conjo called in and bugged us. So then when he was on, we called in and harassed him.
Yeah,
that was a lot of fun.
It was a lot of fun.
That number is posted on the link that.
Yeah, it's on the link.
The show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And that's the same every week, right? 516-453-9902.
Yep, every week.
Okay,
same number.
Okay.
You mean you don't change your phone every week?
No, I go through Blog Talk Radio, and they assigned us that number, and we've had
That's
for
what it is.
Almost 2 years. So
there you go. Nobody calls up and orders pizza.
No, but people call up there. We do, like with your show the other day, we did the pre-show conversation. We do that too, usually on Monday or Tuesday. And I tell them, hey, we're going to be calling you. Do you have a phone number? So they give me a phone number, and then they tell us, I was trying to call that number, but they was telling me there's no show scheduled. It's like, because we said we were going to call you. But they call the studio number, and there's nobody there for our number at that time. So you'll just get a recording saying, sorry, there's no show scheduled for today.
Yeah. That would be a little scary.
There you go. Well, we'll let you go. We know you got to get running there. And
I appreciate this. I appreciate this opportunity. This was a lot of fun. I'm not used to doing this is like the third or fourth video interview I've ever done, but I mean, it was a lot of fun, and I appreciate this.
Well,
Joe Conjal says, great show tonight. I've enjoyed listening to Beem talk about his books. We have two. Nice seeing, this is Fox Point Publishing, LLP. Nice seeing everyone. Have a good night.
You too, Kirsten.
You too, Kirsten.
Thank you, everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So
we'll still be here after we say goodbye to Beem. We'll be here for a few more minutes, people, if you have any more questions for us.
Right.
All right.
So
thank you. Thank you to everybody who tuned in and who will tune in the archive as well. I appreciate that. And thank you, Joan and Rob. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you for being on the show.
And have a good show.
Thank you.
Follow.
Yes.
Whoop.
So, kind of removed him while he was trying to say bye. I did want to remind you again that, Paul Hollis said, another awesome show. Thanks. I wanted to remind you all that we're broadcasting on 6 channels. We're broadcasting on 3 Facebook channels, 1 LinkedIn channel, and 2 YouTube channels. So if you're making comments and you see us putting up comments and you're like, I'm not seeing these comments, where are those people? It's because they're listening on a different channel than you happen to be tuned into. So that can be confusing.
Yes.
So
very confusing. So what's coming up, you asked?
Okay.
Did you ask
what's
that?
Coming up?
Oh, this Saturday, episode Rewind, episode 27, Caleb and Linda Pirtle. That's going to be at 5:30 p.m.
That was a good show.
It was a really good show.
Yeah, if you missed it, watch it.
You can watch
Saturday.
it right here where you're at right now, whatever outlet you're watching on, Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube.
Channels.
It'll be live, a live rerun if you missed it. So that'll be on. And then next Wednesday, we're going to be camping. So we have a new episode we're going to show that is pre-recorded with Dr. Michelle Finneran. And do you want to talk about what it was about at all?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Okay. So Dr. Michelle Finneran has written a book about domestic abuse. And it's a really important work. And she has a lot of important things to say to people who are perhaps dealing with a family member who's going through this, and she gives great ideas on how to handle that and how to help them. And before I met Rob, was a victim of domestic abuse. And so for part of the show, she'd asked me to share my story, and I did. And so I think it's kind of, it's a hard thing to hear about, but it's an important thing to hear about because it happens so much. And I thought that things had changed a lot in the many, many years since I went through that. Because, Rob and I have been together for 46 years. So obviously it was a long time ago that I went through that, but it hasn't changed. It's still the same. It's still very difficult for women in particular to get help if they're in that kind of situation, because domestic abusers make sure that you're separated from everyone that you know and everyone that cares about you. And they make sure that you're very dependent on them. And so it's very, very difficult for women in that situation. So this book is helpful to be able to help those kind of people.
That's next Wednesday at the same time, 7 o'clock Eastern time, 7 o'clock p.m., Wednesday, June 8th. Dr. Michelle Finneran. Don't miss it. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
And
Stephen
Paul Hollis
G's.
says, another awesome show. Thanks. And Stephen, who I think is probably already off the air here, said, great show. Thanks, Carters, both. And George says, domestic abuse is the most painful disease in this or any country in the world. That's for sure.
It is. It's really
No doubt
really
about
difficult. And
Terrible.
people don't know how to deal with people that are going through that. And I just want to make it really clear that I'm a survivor. I'm not a victim. And so I'm good, and I can talk about it, and it's not painful for me at all to talk about it anymore. And you know, and if I can do anything to help anybody, then I want to do that. So, but yeah, it is a painful disease, and it's bad. It's really bad.
Yep.
But she's very entertaining and easy to listen to, and knows what she's talking about. She's a smart cookie and a young woman, and I admire her a lot.
She offers a lot of good advice, I believe.
She does.
So anyway.
Thanks for listening, people.
I think that's about it. Let me take this down. And I guess until next time.
That's all, folks.
Thank you for joining us here on Meet the Author. Make sure you stay up to date with our show by clicking like, follow, and share. And you can find us on Spotify, iTunes, and more. See you next time on WLFE-DB.com.
You've been listening to WLFE-DB.com, where our shows are your shows.